Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome to Total War Warhammer II, The Curse of the Vampire Coast. The Vampire Coast is a new faction that got released today. This is basically like different types of undead monster pirates, which I think is a super cool concept. I've been waiting for this very excitedly. So there's 4 different Vampire Coast sub-factions, and I think they're all really cool in different ways. Luther Harkon here is like an insane vampire with a fractured mind, trying to put together the lost lizardman trinkets to bring himself back to life.
The Dread Fleet comes for you.
This guy commands the Dread Fleet, which is a pretty sick name for a fleet of ships. He does have the worst beard in history, but aside from that, he's real cool. That hat kind of offsets it a little bit. You have this lady who is some kind of sea monster mutant with swordfish noses for legs. That's pretty wild. But the faction we're going to be playing as today is, yeah, a little bit of that. The Drowned, led by Cylostra Direfin, or she pronounces it Delphin, because of course she's an undead Bretonnian, and Bretonnia is Warhammer France. So the reason I've decided that I want to play her over any of the others is because we're going to be playing in Mortal Empires. I had a lot of fun during our last Mortal Empires campaign. In that, we played Ungrim Ironfist of the Dwarves, and Cylostra Direfin starts almost exactly on the other side of the map from him, and she has a couple of things that are unique to her that will help to differentiate this campaign a little bit from our last one. There are some ways in which the Vampire Coast army is kind of similar to the Dwarf army. It's kind of a generally slow-moving force, very gunpowder reliant, but because she is a deceased Bretonnian noble, she has access to like undead Bretonnian units, so we'll get to have some cavalry and stuff. So I'm hoping that will help make this a little bit different from the Dwarf campaign. So you can see here she gets increased loyalty for new recruits. She has a lowered upkeep for Siren and Morn Ghost units. Sirens are, sirens pretty much. They're ghostly melee units. Morn Ghosts are a whole terrifying thing. We'll talk about Morn Ghosts once we get in and I can really show you what they look like. They're really something. A recruitment cost reduction for Sirens and Morn Ghosts, and then her army gets physical resistance and every unit in it gets magical attacks, which, if you're not familiar with exactly how the Total War Warhammer system works, is less impressive than it sounds. It sounds like this is going to be a big deal. It really isn't. And with that, let's get right in. We'll talk about all of the unique pirate mechanics once we're actually in-game here. So, that sea witch and malignant spirit, Madame Captain Cylostra Direfin, has surfaced from the icy depths with a vengeful need to end all life and sink Ulthuan, the island home of the High Elves. She goes to war upon her haunted ship, the Lamprey, with a crew of vampire officers and zombie mobs known as the Drowned, her dedicated cast of devoted stagehands. Now, armed with the powerful lore of the deep, she scours the coast for plunder and corpses, and will not stop until every being has heard her siren song. Her personal storyline is pretty wild. That's another big part of the reason I wanted to play her. In life, she was like the greatest opera singer of her time, and incredibly vain and prideful. And she was crossing the sea from Bretonnia to Ulthuan to perform for the Phoenix King, which is obviously a great honor, when a big storm kicked up on the sea, like an unnatural storm. The captain of her ship thought they should turn back so as not to, be murdered by the storm. Yeah. We'll skip this little intro here. So the captain of the ship wanted to turn back, wait until the storm dies down and then go out. She was so incensed at the idea of him forcing her to miss her appointment, to miss her greatest honor, that she picked him up by the neck, tossed his ass overboard, and declared herself captain of the ship, and then, got up on the front of the ship and decided she was just going to use her incredibly powerful magical singing voice to sing the storm into submission, and led them directly into it. Obviously, the storm sunk the ship, and she and everyone on it was killed, and now she is a ghost, like an opera revenant. obsessed with the idea of getting to perform in Ulthuan for the Phoenix King. But now that she's kind of like the Lord of the Deeps, her plan is actually to bring Ulthuan down. So we got to take Ulthuan and drown everyone there, basically, so that they can eternally listen to her song, which is crazy, but also very cool. All right, so the drown. We have this shipbuilding mechanic. Our main army. Yeah, there you go. Our main army is not just an army, but also a settlement. Basically, each of the pirate lords gets their main army is a horde, like the Chaos Warriors or the Beastmen armies. But then you also can have settlements. There's kind of a lot of mechanics going on with these guys. They've sort of combined, they've combined kind of all of the different factions' mechanics to build this in a way that I think is really interesting. So we can enlist and expand our crew via pirate settlements or from our legendary lord's flagship. We have an infamy mechanic. So right now, where's my infamy displayed? Right now we are at not good. This is the list of all of the most infamous pirates in the world right now. We are ranked very, very poorly on this list, and part of our mission, part of our game objective, is to get to the top of the list. Defeating armies, capturing settlements, and establishing pirate coves will increase our infamy levels, and in doing so, our ranking on the list of infamous pirates will improve, rising toward the top and drawing the attention of other legendary pirates in possession of the powerful Verses of the Lost Sea Shanty. So, as we learn the Verses of the Sea Shanty, we'll start to get access to some powerful buffs for our armies. You can see the pirate lords that have the little marker next to them are the ones who know the verses. We can establish pirate coves in the settlements of other players. So we don't necessarily have to destroy a coastal settlement when we attack it. We could just establish a cove sort of underneath it, and their city will continue to function at full strength for them, but we will also get income from it. Right? We get income based on the amount of income they're getting. These coves can be secretly developed at any port settlement, leeching from the current occupants, though they will be blissfully unaware of your activities. I think that the pirate cove doesn't actually reduce income for the person who owns the settlement. It just creates additional money that goes to me. So, we have a mission here to find a hidden treasure using the treasure map's riddle. Apparently we started with a treasure map, which is here. To find what you seek, do not be so meek, for the guardian stands proud, so tall that its head is in the clouds. There's probably supposed to be some meter to that. So we have a treasure map indicating somewhere around here. Okay, the High Sentinel is the guardian, so tall that its head is in the clouds. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, we'll go dig for pirate treasure at some point. We have some things we have to consider first, like all of these angry orcs. Also, of course, we have our chapter objectives. From the depths of the ocean she has returned. Not even death can keep Cylostra from a performance for the Phoenix King. Despairing from a prestigious music career cut short, the phantasmal diva first expands her undead crew, bringing her deathly serenades to the hovels of the living. If they will not listen willingly, her deckhands will ensure they do. So, our overall objective this game, we're going for... That's not even the right button. This one, here's the one I want. We're going for a long campaign victory. This series might be a little bit on the long side. At the start of a turn, have at least 10,000 infamy. Obviously, that's going to be a bit of a journey from where we are now. We must contain control of 20 of the following provinces by direct ownership or through vassals and military allies. These are the provinces of Ulthuan. We just got to take over the whole High Elf Island. We can absolutely do that. We have to destroy all of the High Elf factions, and then also Hexawaddle for some reason. You know what? They're friends with the High Elves. That's enough. That's enough to warrant destruction. And then we have to control 10 of the other major settlements of the world, either through direct ownership or, through alliances and stuff. So it is going to be a large campaign, a significant portion of the world spanning campaign. We also have to build Cylostra's Opera House and Cylostra's Balcony. I'm not sure where these landmarks are, but we'll find them. I bet the Opera House is in Lothern. We have to maintain a total of 20 Sirens and Morn Ghouls, and we have to reach rank 20 with 3 Morn Ghoul Haunter heroes. So I don't know what building it is that unlocks the recruitment of those, but we're going to want to do that. We're going to want to get that pretty early. So without too much further ado, let's get on this. So you can see here, our main army, part of Cylostra being a deceased Bretonnian noble is that she had a paladin accompanying her, and now he is damned forever to follow her in unlife. So that's kind of a neat thing. Apparently he can dig for treasure. It doesn't have to be our army. For now, though, I think we're just going to roll him into the army.
My friend.
All right, well, let's smash up some orcs. Oh, hold on. Before we do that, we have the normal recruitment stuff. There are regiments of renown that we can earn access to, like most other factions. We can, of course, recruit more units, but because we're undead, we have the ability to raise the dead, which is a type of recruitment that takes no time and is more effective, like near the sites of great battles or places where lots of people have died. For now, we're just going to grab everything we can grab out of the raised dead pool, and let's have at these orcs. This is probably going to be a pretty easy battle, but we're going to play it out just so that we can actually see our units in actual action. What a cowardly bunch of orcs! Well, it sounds like Cylostra is having a good time, at least. I have never seen such cowardice. This is very embarrassing. There's only 7 of them, or 7 units in this army. I think what we're going to do here is go into march mode. We're going to move as far around them as possible. I want to try to prevent them from getting to their settlement, and I'm not too worried about them turning around and attacking our settlement. Okay, we can see there's a shipwreck off the coast. It'd be nice to get some early money. Although, honestly, early income for this faction seems to be pretty good. So what other stuff do we have over here, mechanics-wise? We might have to turn the voice audio down just a little bit. Apparently, she's going to be a little loud. Who would have guessed from an opera singer? So we have some rights available to us. Eventually, we'll be able to perform the Curse of the Bountiful Treasure, which will give us 500 gold for every building owned from the buried treasure chain. So as we take over more territory, this will get more and more powerful. We can cause all of our regions to be covered by cursed mist, causing attrition to enemy armies. And of course, we are immune to that. And it allows a lot of our units to Vanguard deploy. So this feels a little bit like the Sandstorm thing that the Tomb Kings can do. We have the Curse of Eternal Service available, which will increase the loyalty of our lords and our public order. Oh, we have the loyalty mechanic, so when we have more than one lord, we're going to have to manage their loyalty to avoid mutiny. And finally, the Curse of the Queen's Cannon. The Queen Bess unit will be available for recruitment into any army. This is the largest cannon in the game. I'm very excited to use it. We're going to have to reach level 12 with our faction leader before we can do that. That shouldn't take too long. We also have an office system, much like the Empire, so as we acquire more pirate lords, we can assign them to various Admiralty positions to give all of our forces everywhere buffs, and then we have to maintain the loyalty of those units, otherwise they'll rebel against us and leave the office. You can see required loyalty 5, it looks like they're all just 5, actually. Alright, so just keeping everybody's loyalty up is important. Yep, beautiful. Also, hey, look at all this tech. So there are some legendary admirals we can research at the cost of a bunch of infamy. For now, roughly how do these work out? The command area is probably unit buffs, I'm assuming. Public order, income, reductions in cost of buildings. Looks like there's some unique followers we could pick up. Well, I do like a follower that gives the army movement range. Movement range is definitely my favorite stat to gain. Construction time down for all buildings in all regions. That's interesting. Okay, so there's a lot of different kinds of stuff in the command grouping here. Growth in all provinces, recruit rank for various types of units. In the firepower area, okay, we have a lot of units that use guns. This is a big part of the theme and mechanics of this faction. So this is where all of our gunpowder buffs are going to be. Grants the throwing bombs banner to your faction. Powder monkey follower. Will increase the armor-piercing damage of our gun units. Okay, so yeah, this is all the gun buffs. Over here in the salvage area, get replenishment rate up for our most basic units, and then... Okay, this seems to be buffs for the more basic units in the army. So probably pretty useful early. It looks like the stuff all the way on the right here is a little bit fancier. I think we'll start here because there's a great big casualty replenishment rate buff in this area.
All will worship me.
Okay, I suppose that's our first turn. I'm very disappointed in these orcs fleeing. It's a very embarrassing thing for them to do. So you can see we started with a siege weapon, a bunch of cannons, and most of our troops right now are just mobs of zombie pirates. The zombie pirates are not particularly good melee units, not real good at actually fighting people, but they have guns. We have access to a lot of guns. So a lot of our basic units are pretty bad and very slow, but mostly used to tie up enemy infantry so that our gun units can get the angle they need to, do the gun thing, shoot people. I don't think we get any good infantry for quite a while. We're gonna be very focused on ranged advantage. Okay, they tried to sneak through the underway to get past us. Let's have at them. Honestly, the game seems to think that this is gonna be a pretty even battle. I don't know why they retreated. Then again, the balance of power bar is not necessarily trustworthy, and I would expect us to have a pretty strong advantage here, given that they don't have much in the way of ranged, and we have a bunch of cannons. Also, ghosts. We have a lot of ghosts. It's very difficult. Like, this is mostly a spears and arrows kind of army. Tough to kill a ghost with that. Alright, so let's have a quick look at our starting units here. First of all, obviously, the Sirens. Where's my unit cards? The Sirens are ethereal, which gives them a tremendous amount of physical resistance. As most undead units do, they cause fear. These ones additionally cause terror. So fear reduces the leadership of nearby enemy units, and terror actually causes panic. The enemies are going to frequently rout for a second, and then once they've gotten away from the Sirens, they'll kind of regain control of themselves. They don't seem like great units overall. They do have this charmed effect, which seems very powerful. But mostly I think their deal is that they're going to be hard to kill, right? 80% physical resistance is pretty serious. We have zombie pirates with guns, just like a lot of them. This is a large number of guns. As you might imagine, zombie pirates, not super accurate. It's tough to aim the gun when your arms don't really work. But we sure do just have a lot of guns. We're going to win through massed gunfire. Just volume of bullets, basically. We also have a bloated corpse that we picked up from the Raised Dead pool. This is an exploding monster. It just runs toward the enemy units and bursts. It's probably going to be really gross. That's my guess. Here we have some deckhands, so guys without guys without guns, mostly just, like I said, dudes to get in the way and tie up enemy units. We have our Carronade. 4 big cannons with gargoyles on them for some reason. Our damned paladin and Madame Cylostra herself,
Cylostra Direfin.
who has the ability to summon some knights errant, like I said, and also the Song of Enthrallment. She's going to pick up some really powerful spells, is my understanding. And then the real pièce de résistance over here is the Morn Ghost. This is what a Morn Ghost looks like. It is really gross. That jaw thing really bothers me, actually. They're fast, they cause fear and terror, they have considerable armor-piercing damage and a bonus versus infantry, and just in general, real scary. Also, they have the Stalk ability, which means that the enemies have to get pretty close to them to be able to see them. Let's actually get in here. How about we actually do some warhammering? So I'm going to put my carronade right up front. I want to get firing range on the enemy as quickly as possible. Just guns kind of all around there. Not a lot of discipline in a bunch of zombies. So mostly the zombie gunnery mobs have a bunch of pistols, but we do have this one unit of rifle zombies, which I assume are going to do a better job. We kind of don't have enough melee to do the thing that I would usually do, which is, just have them lined up all the way behind the range, and then as the enemy gets closer, you move through and block. We might want to pick up some more melee next time we're out recruiting. And then I don't really know what to do with these guys yet. We're going to figure it out. I assume the pirate's going to be, or the paladin's going to be pretty good at battle. He himself is ethereal, and then also... Oh no, he is not ethereal. He looks ethereal. He does not have that huge physical resistance. He does have the hunger. As long as he's engaged in melee, he's constantly regenerating. Oh, nope, sorry, this is the Morn Ghost. Apparently I moused over them briefly. I do feel like it should just show you the stats of whatever's selected down here. Okay, yeah, so he just has... No, he does have ethereal. He also has ward save on top of that. Yeah, he's going to be really tough to kill. He has no armor. He sure looks armored. I guess when your armor's ethereal, it's not very effective, probably. Alright, so... They're going to have to... They're going to have to come to us. Obviously, we could just roll up on them, because we have a massive range advantage, but I think, knowing that, they're just going to come to us as quickly as they can. Let's see how effective these cannons are. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Obviously, no unit likes to be shot with artillery. So if you've never seen a Total War game before, a lot of it is about the battles, and then a campaign map that sort of lends context and meaning to those battles. So a lot of the mechanics are very battle-focused. You can see each unit here has a health bar, and then below that a white bar that represents their leadership, which is, morale, basically. Being shot at with ranged weapons is bad for morale. Being shot at with artillery is extra bad. So you can see these orcs are losing a lot of morale already. Really, orcs just don't have great... They're kind of cowards. They love a fight, but they don't want to, actually have a chance of losing. They love a fight that they're guaranteed to win. They do have some boar boy cavalry, which we have to be a little bit cautious about. Obviously, if the boar boys get into our range, it could be not great for us. They're getting closer to our closer to the range of our gunnery mobs. Alright, I'm going to send the bloated corpse in. I kind of want to see what it's going to do. Gunfire has begun. It's looking pretty bad for them already. Let's, show me something. Oh, wow! Holy crap, that's effective. Jesus. Alright, so in Total War Warhammer, all of the Total War games, you can pause and issue orders while the game is paused. So we're just going to have our melee run up through our ranged. You don't want them to start in front of the ranged because you want the ranged units to have clean line of sight. But as the enemy gets closer, obviously it's not great to have the enemies engage you directly. And we're going to summon up our Ghosts of the Past to run off these boar boys. Actually, the boar boys seem to be getting run off pretty well just by the gunfire. Also, that is a cool looking spell. So, I'm assuming that most summoned units in the game deteriorate pretty rapidly. I'm assuming that will be the case with these ones. So let's get our paladin back over here and have him fight this war boss.
Deckhands.
For now, we're going to just completely surround the war boss with deckhands. Our sirens are in here, having at these guys. And where are my Morn Ghosts? We're going to have our Morn Ghosts wrap around the back side of this melee mob. But yeah, check out the Ghostly Knights. I think this is a super cool idea. Alright, so this is another thing that really, I mean, first of all, fighting all kinds of ghosts and monsters and stuff is pretty bad for leadership. But being flanked is especially bad. You're going to see these units start to crumble pretty quickly here. Got our Ghost Knights out here in the middle of everything, attacking the archers, and I guess I haven't gotten Cylostra involved in battle very much at all. She seems to me to be kind of a wizard. It's probably not a super great idea to have her engage with enemies that are actually dangerous in melee, but her Song of Enthrallment has a limited range, so we should probably try to get near something. You can see the Ghost Knights have already fallen apart. We focus our cannons a little bit here. It'd be really great if they didn't have any ranged units. So let's just destroy the melee prowess of all of their units here. I want to stay close enough to their hero that I'm continuing to affect him with the song. We might have to move to start to get a clear angle. We've kind of gotten our troops in the way of our gunnery mobs a little bit here. Yeah, this battle is going down pretty simply, as I imagined it would. Make sure we're all still getting reasonable shots off here. Usually they start you near kind of a training army. Something that'll be relatively easy for you to fight. And it's truer with the undead factions than it is with any of the others, that you can really burn through those first enemies, because the raised dead ability lets you raise your first army so quickly. So the Bloated Corpse only got 35 kills, but man, he obliterated that unit of cavalry. These are interesting units. So obviously, where this unit is gone, we're going to have to recruit a new unit of Bloated Corpses, a single Bloated Corpse, rather. If we want to have that capacity again. That's an interesting idea. There's not really anything like that in Total War right now. That seems pretty good. Notice a lot of our units didn't really get a lot done. It's heavily focused. Our kills are heavily focused on our few relatively elite units. Unfortunately, it looks like Cylostra does not get credit for the kills that her Ghostly Knights get. A little bit of a shame. It doesn't matter for the purposes of XP or anything. You get the same amount of XP if you just participated in the battle, no matter how many enemies you kill, I think. From a hero perspective. But it would be nice to know exactly what her effectiveness is. So now that we've won a battle, we captured 50 of the enemy, and we had to decide what we're going to do with them. We can ransom the captives back to their tribes for money. We can share the spoils with our lord. Okay, this is a little bit more relevant for armies that are not controlled by Cylostra. We can increase the loyalty of our lord who won the battle by letting them decide what to do with the captives. Or we could bolster the strength of our army by introducing our captives to the dark arts. You know, quotation marks around introducing. I think I'd probably just want the money right now. This is just a little bit of unit replenishment. I imagine that's not going to be a real problem for us. So I suspect that this orc faction that we're up against here is not long for this world. Seems like we have the situation well in hand. Oh, that's right. There's a bunch of rogue pirate armies running around. I think... Yeah, here. Okay. So the way we unlock our regiments of renown is not by leveling up our our lords, which is the way it works for most factions, but rather by defeating these pirates, these various pirate armies, or navies, I suppose, out in the ocean. Each one gives us access to a different regiment of renown, so once we have a reasonable army, this is probably going to be a fairly high priority. Alright, we got ourselves a skill point. So there's a line here which will upgrade the type of Bretonnian Knights that she can summon. Looks like when you get to the top, you have to make a choice between Knights of the Realm and Questing Knights. I'm going to have to look up, between videos, exactly what these units do, because I don't know what the difference between those two types of knights is off the top of my head. But first, we're going to take Route Marcher. I think Route Marcher is always right. This is always what you should do with the first skill point in an army.
All will worship me.
Move back into normal movement stance, raise ourselves some more dead. Okay, well, there's our additional melee. And then I see no reason to do anything other than have at them. We can auto-resolve a lot of these battles. I wanted to run that first one manually just so that we could actually see our units in action. But, like, this is pretty obviously going to go in our favor. She's having a good time. So we could establish a pirate cove here. We're not going to do that. The pirate cove is only valuable if the settlement that it's established in is valuable, and obviously this is just kind of like a nowhere port.
Take it for me.
So we're going to take over all of the stuff at first. We want to try to get probably at least one full region, or one full province, before we start engaging in any other weird shenanigans. So we got another skill point. I think the things we're going to want to do early on here are finish upgrading our knights and start in on her other spells, because it seems like the lore of the deep has some pretty powerful stuff in it. You know, for the moment, let's focus on the knights. Obviously, they're going to be more effective the earlier we get them. And our paladin is leveling up as well here. He started with immortality, which is nice. So melee defense and frostbite attacks. I believe frostbite attacks is just his attacks will slow people. Extra bonus versus infantry. When it says bonus versus a type of unit, that's a bonus to both melee attack and weapon strength when fighting that unit, I believe. A bunch of hit points and weapon strength, and what, 20% ward save. Honestly, this is not a super high priority. I think he's already going to be better than a lot of the things we're fighting. Just Bretonnian paladins are pretty good fighters. And then him being ethereal on top of that, and also immortal, so that he can't be killed, means that I'm not really that concerned about his toughness. Let's focus on damage. He also has the, he's increasing the replenishment rate of our army. We could upgrade that. He can spread public order in our regions. He can assault enemy garrisons, assassinate enemy heroes. This is pretty important. It's good to have a good assassin on your team, but I think probably it's not a super high priority for him. We can get other heroes to do assassinating. So let's grab ourselves some new recruits while we're here, waiting for a turn in our new city, replenish all of our stuff. And we're actually doing really, really well on money. So while we're camped out for the turn, let's upgrade our flagship. So you can see we got a bunch of different categories of buildings that we can build here. Our flagship has population. This is the way that horde factions work. The army has population, and then you spend population to buy upgrades, in addition to spending a little bit of money. And each type of building that you build increases the population cost of all future building types. So right now, the first type of building we build here is going to cost 2 population. Upgrades to that building are going to cost 1 more population at each level. But then, to build the next type of building, we're going to have to pay 4 population instead of just 2. So we have to be smart about what we build first here. This will increase our rate of growth, making it easier for us to build more stuff in the future. But I also saw 10% campaign movement range, and I don't know if I've expressed this yet, but I have strong feelings about campaign movement range. We can also upgrade the core structure here, our captain's cabin, to reduce the upkeep we're paying for all units and increase our growth. And once we get it upgraded one more time, we'll gain access to a new type of hero. It looks like they're... The thing in parentheses after their name is a school of magic, so they're wizards, but they're probably like, they're probably hybrid kind of warrior mages. I guess we'll find out. And we still have quite a bit of money left, so let's talk about our settlements a little bit. We upgrade this building, we'll gain access to zombie pirate deckhands with pole arms. Probably not better fighting units in general, but better specifically for fighting large enemies, which means anything horse-sized or bigger. And also, access to Scurvy Dogs, which are 26 melee attack, 22 weapon strength, 12 defense. Okay, these look like they're basically just vampire hounds. Not super useful units. I think they're pretty weak, but they're fast moving, and that's the thing we don't have access to a ton of. To be clear, the ability to summon knights is an ability of Cylostra herself, so once we have more than one army, her army will still be the only one that can summon knights. So we're going to need some kind of fast-moving solution for everybody else. Oh, right, there's a treasure around here somewhere. Alright, on this next turn, we'll go digging, see if we can't unearth something valuable. It really does seem like money is not going to be a big issue for us, though. So this settlement and that settlement make up the rest of our initial province. Once you own an entire province, you can issue commandments that will increase the effectiveness of the province, allow you to modify it in a bunch of ways. So it is good when you can to capture entire provinces, rather than just random settlements all around. Once we have this province, I'm not sure exactly what our plan will be from there. Obviously, Ulthuan over here is the grand goal, but we're probably not ready to take Ulthuan on just yet. High Elves are pretty good fighters, and I'm not sure exactly how elite their units will be by the time we can actually go across the sea and fight them, but probably more elite than ours.
Sing the songs of death.
Okay, I know I said we were going to dig for treasure, but we should probably just finish wiping out the Blue Vipers. I assume that they don't have a lot of settlements left. Yeah, that is in fact their last settlement. Yeah, no sense in allowing them to rebuild their strength.
The audience awaits. Kill for me. We take, then go.
Okay, that was easy enough. Turns out orcs not that good at fighting ghosts. We've unlocked the Curse of Eternal Service.
Madame Cylostra Direfin.
Also unlocked another skill point here. So actually, next level, right? We're going to be able to do this? Yeah, okay, there's no level requirement on these. So I need to figure out which kind of knights we want. Alright, we are regenerating quickly here. We could just fill up the army real fast.
My pretty.
It's pretty nice. This is one of the things that's really nice about the undead factions is how quickly you get to build up that initial army. It's true that almost all of the units in our initial army are total garbage, but there sure are a lot of them, right? That counts for something. I think we probably... yeah, we don't really have anything else to do this turn. Let's try to get Pahwaks, get this under control. It looks like a ruin, but I don't know for sure that it's actually uninhabited. Skaven settlements appear to be ruins until you've scouted them out, so it's possible that there's a bunch of Skaven running around in there. We should not let our guard down. But once we have our initial province here, that will probably be... that'll be a crucial moment. We're going to have to figure out a new plan. The initial force that you start at war with is pretty much just like to give you a bit of direction during the early turns. Probably what we want to do is try to find some valuable ports and establish coves in them, so that we can make a bunch of money without having to work for it. That is the dream, after all. I'm not really sure where the valuable ports are. Lothern itself is pretty valuable, although obviously we'd like to take that one over. But we could locate some ports maybe on the eastern continent. I think there's some pretty valuable stuff over where the southern realms start. Alright, so we got that. Let's talk about where valuable ports are. There are, in this area, a number of port cities, and I think some of them have some pretty valuable trade stuff going on. There's also, over here somewhere at the mouth of the Great River, there's the city of Marienburg, which has a really powerful and valuable port. That's pretty far away from us at the moment. Apparently our paladin just leveled up off of passive XP gain at the end of the turn. May as well finish all of this stuff. Frostbite attacks are pretty useful. So a lot of those types of debuffs, like slowing enemies when you hit them, apply to the entire enemy unit whenever you attack any figure in the unit. So if he hits one member of a cavalry unit, the whole unit gets slowed. So I can definitely see some uses for that. It looks like we're not actually going to be able to take Pahawks this turn, so where was this pointing exactly? Just kind of in this area, it looks like. We also picked up another treasure map at some point. Not all wonders are created by the gods themselves. Some are mortal creations, wherein lies what you seek. That is Tomb King stuff. They probably will not have super positive feelings about me plundering their territory for valuables. If there's one thing I know about the Tomb Kings, it's that they feel very strongly about their valuables. Alright, let's dig. Consumes all remaining movement range and has a chance of finding an additional treasure map. Okay, mission successful. A great hoard of treasure may be received. Yeah, alright, that's a pretty great hoard. And 150 infamy as well. The deckhands were digging all through the night, till their rusty spades clanked against an old chest buried in the dirt. Treasure has been found. Honestly, I don't even really know what to do with all this money. We did in fact find another treasure map. While the flora of the world is exquisite in its danger and beauty, it has always been the fauna that poses the greatest threat. Sure, I agree with that. That makes sense to me. That one is more of an Ulthuan sort of problem. Alright, well, we'll get over there and do some mining, or do some treasure digging eventually. Alright, so we need to pick up a new thing. Can we get... There's not movement range available in this area. Yeah, I think we'll just grab the replenishment rate. So replenishment rate is this. Whenever you end your turn in a friendly region, any of your damaged units get to recruit from the local populace and replenish themselves a little bit. If you get a bunch of replenishment rate bonuses, you can basically have a full strength army every turn, even while battling constantly, and I find that that is a very, very valuable thing. So we have access to a couple of our rights right now. Does it make sense to pay the high cost to launch either of these? Not really. It might be worth it for us to launch a second army already. Just have them sail around and, like, collect shipwrecks and stuff. Oh, and when we took over the floating pyramid, it had a duplicate building in it. Well, we don't need that. We already have a Deckhands boneyard. So, what would be the cost of recruiting another lord right now? Our total army upkeep would increase by 572 every time you recruit a new lord. Obviously, you have to pay the lord themselves, but you also incur an increased logistical cost. And this goes up with each army you have. So it does eventually become very, very expensive to start new armies, but we could probably start a second one right now. So let's have a look at our options here. Each one of them has access to a particular school of magic. That's what death and vampires are. Looks like those. Oh, and deeps. The deeps is the school of magic that Cylostra herself has access to. They each have a starting loyalty value, or our starting loyalty range will generate a value when we actually hire them. And they each have a trait. So as a murderer, this guy gains loyalty from being allowed to defeat enemy army and lords in battles. He gets extra loyalty when he participates in a battle and he reduces enemy leadership. This guy wants to raise settlements and win siege battles. Okay, this is interesting. So they all have different things they like that affect their loyalty. That's a good way to give a lord a little bit of personality. Also, that guy's name is Jimbo the Creeper, so he's probably not hired. Gain loyalty from ambush and lightning strike battles with a higher ambush success chance. The ambush mechanic is pretty powerful. It's if you're playing multiplayer against another human, ambushes are not super effective, but the AI just wanders right into ambushes all the time. So this is actually definitely an interesting one. And the Lore of Death has some pretty powerful stuff in it. This one is a plunderer, so extra loyalty from sacking and raiding. Extra loyalty from constructing pirate coves. Margaret Blubberbait. There's a lot of good names out here on the pirate coast. Wounding and killing enemy lords in battle. Recruiting and fighting with other pirate lords. That's interesting. So we want somebody who's going to be pretty loyal. Somebody that we can immediately assign to an Admiralty post who will actually stay there. Raising settlements and winning siege battles. What was the story with that ambusher? Only 3 to 8 loyalty. I do like the ambush mechanics a lot. But maybe that's not a good... maybe we don't want to start with a lord who has that little loyalty. Let's just get like a murderer or something. Sacking and raiding. Yeah, this'll do. Rosalind the Stasher, Vampire Fleet Admiral of Death. Welcome to the team.
Admiral of the fleet.
Alright, so we're going to probably want to put some basic units into her army eventually. But for right now, her job is just going to be to sail around and get us shipwrecks and stuff.
Madame Cylostra Direfin.
Alright, let's go and claim our other region while she heads out to sea, and then we'll finish putting together a little bit of a navy for her. She doesn't need a full stack just yet. She's not going to be engaging in a ton of battles right away. Oh, I need to assign her to an office as well. But the extra money we pull out of the sea should help us establish our first group of buildings. Building up a province can be an expensive endeavor. So you can see here, this is all of the other players in the game. The Mortal Empires map is very large. It has a lot of little factions on it. Most of these guys will not become major players. Most of them will just get quickly eaten by their neighbors. But one of the things I like a lot about this game is how differently the world map can play out from game to game, as random events and stuff change who takes over who.
Ahoy! Follow, shipmates!
So this is the remnant of a sea battle. Clearly, 2 ships met in combat and brought each other low, their rival crews drowning in battle and hatred. But their loss could be your gain, as the sunken ships lean on each other in unstable fashion. Time is short. Salvage must be sought quickly. I don't know, I feel like we could let the ships go down and still probably salvage them alright. So this army is not going to be performing in any battles at all anytime soon. Let's take the Sunken Chest here. During your adventures on the high seas, you procured a bounty of rations to stave off attrition and ill health. So we've reduced the attrition damage that this army suffers, and also its upkeep. Not super valuable, but we did just make 1,500 gold straight up. That's pretty good. And then, are there any other shipwrecks around here? Not that we can see immediately. Let's have her scout around. You might be able to find something. Oh, we should also actually assign her to an office here. So do these have level requirements? Required rank 5, 8, 10, 5. Okay, they all require at least level 5. So she's going to have to sail around a bit. I think she gets XP. Nope, never mind. I was about to say I think you get XP for finding shipwrecks, but apparently that is not the case. There is some passive XP gain per turn.
Siren of...
Apparently we're going to be reliant on that for her. Yeah, alright, let's get a move on here. We could go into March mode and move a little bit faster, but in March mode we couldn't settle the ruin anyway. So we're waiting until next turn either way. So each of our settlements has a number of building slots in it. We have a bunch of different things we can construct. And then the settlement, the region, the province rather, also has a tax rate and a public order level. If the public order reaches minus 100, there will be a rebellion. What you call a land mutiny, which we'll have to put down. I'm not too concerned about that. Generally speaking, rebellion armies are pretty weak. They're only really a threat in places where you don't have a standing force to fight them, which obviously is not a problem for us right now. We also have our growth level, which contributes to population, which is needed to upgrade the main settlement structures. So we have a ton of money here. Let's see what we can build. So the main level of the region determines what you can actually build there. We're going to have to upgrade this to level 2 in order to build anything that's in this row. So what do we have access to? We have Fell Hollows, which would let us get units of bats. Bats are really weak, very bad combatants, but they do fly, and they're pretty fast, so they can get into the enemy ranged or their artillery crews. We can eventually gain access to larger bats carrying zombies with guns, which is kind of a weird thing. Zombie bats carrying zombies with better weapons. And eventually the Death Shriek Terrorgeist, which is basically a dragon. It's like an undead dragon. We probably want to have the ability to recruit more gunners. Currently we can only actually recruit melee zombies. So I think this is worth putting together. Although, what else do we have access to here? Some other types of grosser zombies. A munitions hut, which will let us acquire more siege weaponry. The defense building, which will add better garrisons to our settlements, and eventually at the top level, walls, which minor settlements do not naturally have. And finally, this is where the economic stuff is. We can get some income. We can increase our growth rate to help us build up the settlements faster. You know what? I think I want to go for this. So this mentions the public order penalty due to lack of corruption. You can see down here the corruption level of the region. We like vampiric corruption. We'll have more public order in regions that have higher vampiric corruption. And living armies don't do well in highly vampiric corrupted regions. So high corruption also serves as a little bit of a defense, because mortal armies walking around will just be taking damage every turn. We got to increase our vampiric corruption. Otherwise, we're going to have some real public order issues. And we have a little bit of money left. I think we probably want to level up settlements that have ports in them, because you can see this port structure is generating money for us, and once we get the settlement to level 3, we can upgrade it to produce twice as much money. So why don't we focus our population spending? Well, we could do this, or we could wait 7 turns until we have another point of population and upgrade this one to level 3, where we'd be able to then upgrade the port. I think that's probably what we want to do with the population. So we're just going to skip this for now. Another thing that our extra lord, who doesn't really have an army with her, can do is run around and search for treasure with the treasure maps. So we might send her across to the Tomb King area. See if she can't dig up this treasure. She might get murdered in the attempt. That's possible. But hey, she's not even really alive now. It's not a big deal. She died once, and it doesn't seem to have really hindered her very much. Once we take over Pahuax here, this might be a good stopping point for the first episode. So my intent with this series is to release an episode every weekday, but I often release a couple of extra episodes in the first couple days of a new series, just so you give people something to chew on. So there'll probably be like 3 or 4 episodes over the next couple of days. And there really are a lot of factions at the beginning of a Mortal Empires game. This list is going to get whittled down pretty quickly. Alright, let's find out if these ruins are crawling with Skaven or not. Nope, just actually empty. We could search the ruins. You'll be presented with a puzzle to solve, and you'll be rewarded if you successfully decipher it. The reward for ruin searching is pretty poor, and I really want this army to get back into doing stuff as quickly as possible. So let's just colonize the region. Alright, we've secured the entire province. Now that we own all of the settlements in the province, we have access to commandments. So we can increase growth and reduce recruitment cost for zombie units. We can make it so loyalty will not decline, but we lose infamy. Nobody thinks you're a terrifying pirate monster if you're, like, paying your people well and giving them benefits, apparently. Even more powder, global recruitment capacity up, ammunition up for armies in the area, or bat swarms. Oh, okay. So like bat swarms harry enemies in the region, reducing their movement range and increasing the vampiric corruption. Well, I think for now let's focus on growth. We really want to get our main settlement buildings upgraded as quickly as possible. And we also need to rebuild. I don't know what happened here, but this place is a real mess. Alright, so she gets another level. You know what? I'm not sure which of these we want to take, but I think we're going to finish off this chain. We're gonna stop here. We're not going to take another turn. So I'll go look up the difference between these units and figure out where to allocate this skill point. You can see we had to use a lot of the bodies in our army now to inhabit the city. These people all became citizens, so it's going to take us a little while to replenish from the local population.
Blood and plunder.
Alright, and we're going to send her just kind of generally in the direction of the Tomb King area so that we can pursue that treasure map. Hopefully we'll find some more shipwrecks or like cursed islands with treasure buried on them or something. So yeah, I think that is going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. We made some okay progress here. Mostly, we talked about what we're going to be doing in the future. Come back next time when we prepare to set our eyes on Ulthuan. And we'll see you then.